Hello comrades, you watching RedIvanAirsoft, and today we'll briefly discuss the firearms used by UKSF members during 2000s. And the main accent of this video will be on this Diemaco C8 SFW or L119A1. And before we started this conversation, I would like to mention a few things. First of all, I'm not an UKSF expert or Diemaco rifles expert. Damn, I'm not even British, as you might guess. So I might have some mistakes in this video or things that I simply forget to mention. If you see those things, please hit me in the comments below and I will be more than happy to discuss it. Second thing, if you're somebody who know about Diemaco rifles, you might mention that I don't have some features that I'm supposed to have on my rifle. It's simply because it's still a project and I'm still working on some things. But anyway, we'll discuss all the small features this rifle is supposed to have. And the last thing I wanted to mention before we start this conversation is the time period. Most rifles and accessories we'll discuss during this video will be related to Task Force Black and Task Force Knight era, but I might mention some other accessories that have been used after this period. So main British military pistol used by that time was Browning High Power, but despite this UKSF members used Zig P226 and its compact version P228. Later on they also got Zig P229, and of course all these pistols had different variations and all of them have the British designations started with L. But we'll discuss all these things later in one of my future videos about P228 made by WE. And now let's talk about machine guns. The main machine gun used by UKSF members was FN Mini-Me, and they had two modifications of it, which are L119A1 with constant stock and L119A1 with collapsible stock. They also call it para. Moving to submachine guns, British military used MP5 and its different modifications. The most popular of them was MP5 SD6. But generally speaking, submachine guns started to lose their popularity exactly in the early 2000s because the cartridge wasn't powerful enough for the modern war. Now let's move to the rifles. British service rifle used by that time was L85. That's why a lot of UKSF members used it too. Another interesting rifle used by UKSF was Heckler & Koch G3KA4, which is shortened version of a G3 rifle. And of course, the most popular rifle within all branches of UKSF was Canadian Diemaco C8 SFW, or designated by Brits as L119A1. Canadian rifle has some differences compared to its American sister M4. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, my project isn't finished yet, so I have these differences too. But we'll talk about them later in this video, and right now I only want to mention the barrel length. Full length Canadian SFW has 16-inch barrel. If you want to be more precise, it's 15.7 inch compared to 14.5 inch in American M4. If we're talking about the CQB rifles, American CQBR has 10.3 inch barrel compared to 10 inch even in Canadian rifle. Because of that, flash hider in Canadian rifle should be right after the front sight, and in order to attach the suppressor or silencer to it, you need to remove the bayonet lock. As I know, on the earlier versions the bayonet lock been removed by the guys themselves, and on the later versions it's been produced without it already. So now let's see what kind of accessories we can install on this rifle to make it look correct for TFB, TFK era. I also may mention some later accessories, and we'll begin with the stock. As you can see, this stock is not something you may see on the regular M4. I would say it's something closer to the earlier Vietnam era stocks used on XM177. Canadians also had their own version of this stock, which has different surface, like you see on the screen right now. But these N1 type stocks also being used by UKSF members. Another thing that you see this rubber pad in the end of it, it's another firm sign of the Canadian rifle. Canadians use this type of stock on all their rifles because they believe that it's easier to clean it in case of the chemical attack. Another interesting feature of Canadian rifle is that the buffer tube has 6 positions for the stock compared to the 5-position buffer tube on the M4. After the TFB era, UKSF members also started to use Magpul CTR stocks. Now let's move to the rear sling mount. On my rifle, the rear sling mount plate is not correct. The correct one you see on the screen right now. Also later, with development of the QD mounts, they started to use 2 sides round holes QD mount. And after the TFB era, they also started to use Magpul ASAP mounts. Now let's move to the pistol grip. As you may see, the pistol grip on the L119 should be wider and bigger than the pistol grip on the regular M16A2 and other versions of the rifle using the same pistol grip. It's made by the Lone Star in Texas, probably also been made in Canada. For airsoft purpose, it's made by GNP, but M16A2 style pistol grip also been used during the TFB era, but it was less common. After the TFB era, UKSF members also used the MOE body Magpul and Hawk pistol grips. Moving to the magazine, it should be either the standard Stanak magazine or PMAG magazine. Don't pay too much attention on the color, I'm still working on them. Next step is tactical grip. The most common tactical grip was so-called bipod grip. Also, Knights Ornament grips like this were used, and other options may be GG&G grip or Tango down grip. Later, after TFB era, CAA folding grip or Magpul grips were used, Magpul angle grips and regular grips. Moving forward to the handguard, the only option was the Knights Ornament wrist handguard. But it wasn't the regular American Knights Ornament handguard. British had a special order for the Knights Ornament, so their handguard had screw not only in the top but also in the bottom, like you see on the picture. This one is a regular one, to be compatible with grenade launcher. Next step is sights and optics. The most common optical sight was a ACOG TA01 NSN, like this one. Also, they used the same one but with a red dot on top of it. Also, if you're talking about red dots, they used EOTech 552. And if you're talking about the sights, backup sights, it was Matek BUIS. Backup iron sights, like this one you see on my rifle. But usually, since the ACOG already has some sights, they didn't put both of them. But I just like it this way. And now we came all the way to flash hiders. First of all, it's regular birdcage, M16A2 style birdcage. It can be seen mostly on the 16-inch versions of the gun, but on the CQB variants you may find them as well. Next one is Vortex flash hider, also more popular with 16-inch barrel rifles, and I also saw them on some G3KA4 rifles. If you're talking about rifles that have been used with suppressor, the iconic flash hider for TFB era should be Surefire FH 556-212A. After the TFB era, Surefire FH556 216A. Talking about suppressors, the problem is that UKSF members during the TFB era been issued with Surefire FA556 as a suppressor. This suppressor is pretty unique and there is no brand that currently produces them for Airsoft. As I know before, you could find the per mic replicas of it, but as I know right now they're not available on the market, and a lot of Airsofters buying the replicas made by Mad Bull of the FA556 212 suppressor, but it's not something that looks really similar, so you need to work on it to make it look nice. After the TFB era, UKSF members started to use a Surefire Socom Suppressor. It is produced by Ditech and Angry Gun, so there is no problem with this one. Next step is pack box. Pack box for the earlier TFB era build should be pack box 2, and for the later build after TFB era it's LA5 pack box. Light, the only flashlight I saw is Surefire M600. So now let's talk more about these differences between American M4 and Canadian C8. As I mentioned before, the buffer tube on the Canadian rifle has 6 positions for the stock compared to the 5 positions on M4. I'm not gonna talk again about the barrel lengths since we already discussed it in the beginning. I only will mention that the front sight on the shorter version, as we also discussed, has no bayonet lock, but on the full length 16-inch version the front sight was completely different, as you can see on the picture. Another interesting thing is that the wrist rail on top of the receiver on the Canadian rifles was a little bit different. It has 14 wrist slots compared to the 13 slots rail on the American M4. And another thing was this end plate right here. It has little bit different shape, like you see on the picture right now. Since I made my rifle based on the GNP C8 receiver, I don't have proper traits on my rifle. That's why Ben from FoxHound.airsoft helped me with that, and he gave me a picture of his receiver so I can discuss it with you guys. So Ben, thank you again one more time, and I left in the description the link to his Instagram. Open it, follow him, and like his pictures. He have a nice pictures of his different types of M4 and C8s and Airsoft in general, so you know what to do. So we'll start to talk about the traits from the logo. Diemaco was founded in 1974, incorporated in 1984, and purchased by DevTech in early 2000. In 2005, it's been purchased again by Colt Canada. So between 1984 and 2005, the logo was still the same. It was the letter D, some people call it Diemaco D, other people call it DevTech D. Under the logo you see the designation of the rifle. It should be L119A1. Next you see the caliber 5.56mm, and under it you see the serial number. So now let's talk about this serial number. You have 7 numbers and 2 letters. First 2 numbers are manufacturing date, so if you see 2 zeros, that means the rifle was produced in 2000. Other 5 numbers are unique serial number, so each rifle have its own. And the letters are the country of import, so if it's Britain, it's GB. Next you see made in Canada under the license from Colt's manufacturing group, Co Inc. You know what does it mean, so we won't stop on this. So now let's move to the fire control, and instead of regular safe semi-auto, like on American rifles, you see S, R and auto. It's made like this because of the Canadian military regulations. Because fire control should be easy understandable for people who speak either English or French. Next thing is NSN number. On earlier rifles, NSN number was made in Canada, and then receivers with NSN number were shipped in Britain. But on later rifles, the NSN number was put in Britain, so they changed the location of the NSN number from the left side close to the trigger pin on the earliest version to the right side closer to the magwell. So my friends, I hope you like this video. If you want to add some information, just write me in the comments. Subscribe to my channel, put like, and see you soon.